Hey everyone, this is Brian from Motive Training, and today we're going to go over a single leg deadlift and how to perform this exercise well. So in a previous video, we went over hip extension and how important it is to have good internal rotation. And this is yet another example of why you need it when you're doing things like hinges, single leg hinges, and bridges, all sorts of stuff. I'm going to have RJ show you a single leg deadlift from the side, and then we're going to do it from the front. So he's just going to go onto one leg, keep a soft bend in that knee, and he's going to shift his weight back into that leg, and then he's going to stand back up from there. Good. So we'll do that facing the camera so you can see it. Perfect, and then right back up. Now, if you lack internal rotation or you bias external rotation, this will look like a modified Warrior 3 yoga pose. Essentially, you will start to roll onto the outside of the hip. You will go into external rotation. You will feel your glutes more, but you are not accessing hip extension at that point or hip flexion. You're combining a bunch of different things at once. So what we want to do when we're doing a single leg deadlift is first identify, can you extend and flex the hip in a somewhat straight line without relying on the external rotators to kind of take over. So I'm going to have RJ show you what we see a lot of people do, which is bias external rotation. So as he shifts his weight back, he's actually going to slightly turn over to the side into that hip. So if you do yoga, twisting half moon, where you actually turn the body to face the opposite direction, you're getting a lot of external rotation in that hip, and that is going to feel like a lot of work being done on the external rotators, but we're trying to get pure extension and flexion in that hip. So what we want to do is actually keep the pelvis neutral, facing the ground, and in line with the femur so that we're getting the most out of hip flexion and extension. So as he goes back and forth, we want to see that he's not getting any rounding through his low back, and he's not getting any weight shift over to his working leg. In fact, what we tend to cue is a slight degree of internal rotation on the right leg, the working leg, and then the same thing on the opposing leg. So we're trying to line those femurs up directly so that the meat of the legs are facing the ground. And when he does that, it will automatically fire up his hip extensor muscles, adductor, hamstring, and a little bit of glute. So if he goes pure external rotation, he goes out to the side, he'll feel more glute, but he's not getting into his internal rotation extension movement. He's kind of working his way out of that. That is not the goal of a single leg Romanian deadlift unless that is your goal, but that depends on what movement limitations you have, so it's not something that we just recommend right out the gate. If you can never access external rotation while you go into that position, then maybe we would train it, but we tend to see more people default to it because they don't have the internal rotation or the extension or the flexion to get themselves into a deep position like that. So keep that in mind as you go through your Romanian deadlift. Are you doing a true hip extension exercise, or are you making all sorts of modifications so it looks and feels somewhat like that exercise?